Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey everybody, and welcome in tonight. Really do appreciate you tuning in. While you're here, do us a favor. If you have not already, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything we got going on here at On Deck. And of course, with your Atlanta Braves, who are coming off a huge series win over the AL East leading Yankees. The Braves, of course, won Game 1 in an offensive blowout, 8-1. They lost Game 2 and basically the script flipped. The Yankees won that one 8-3. And of course, today in Game 3, Max Fried led the Braves to a series victory as they took the win 3-1. A lot happened in this series. We're going to talk about it. I think first, what I want to touch on is the starting pitching in this series, because that's kind of the tail of the tape so far this year. Or at least in this series. In Game 1, of course, you had Chris Sale on the mound. He set the tone, 5 innings, only gave up 1 run, 8 strikeouts. The bullpen was scoreless from that point out. They pitched 4 innings scoreless, by the way. Then in Game 2, Charlie Morton did not have his best stuff. He's been one of those pitchers this year that seems to either be at his best or be at his worst. This was unfortunately the latter. He had 5 2/3 pitched. He gave up 5 earned runs in that stretch, only getting 4 strikeouts. The bullpen didn't help him a ton. Aaron Bummer gave up 2 runs. Jesse Chavez gave up a run. So Game 2 went the Yankees' way, and as much as I would like to sit in that and waller in that, I also appreciate the fact that the Yankees are one of the best teams in baseball. They are leading their division right now. They're in the AL East. So you expected a loss somewhere. Unfortunately, it happened to Charlie Morton. But today, Game 3, to me, this was one of the more entertaining games. Obviously, the offensive blowout is what it is, and you love to see it. But today's game showed me that we can be competitive when needed too. Max Fried gave a Max Fried style performance, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts. The bullpen went scoreless. Jared Kelenic, for all intensive purposes, has flipped on a dime in his performance so far this year, because back in spring training, we were sitting here talking, hey, look, I know we traded for this guy. Is he really the guy? Is he the guy that we can count on? Is he the guy that we really want to platoon? And he has now found himself in the leadoff spot, formerly held by Ronald Acuña Jr., and he has not skipped a beat. He hit a solo shot today that got the Braves on the board. He also had a big sac fly with 2 men in scoring position. That scored the second run of the game. By the way, that 1 homer he hit was the first home run that a left-handed hitter has gotten on Nestor Cortez this year. So Jared Kelenic with a big day. Happy to see that, and happy that he's really finding himself in this Braves lineup and finding success in this Braves lineup, where based on last year, based on what we know this Braves lineup can do, you would think it's very easy to be be undervalued, right? Jared Kelenic has been very proficient in the leadoff spot since he's been given it, and hopefully that'll continue to be the case. And, you can look at the lineup, you can point out weaknesses. I know a lot of folks right now are talking about Orlando Arcia, and a lot of folks are also talking about Adam Duvall and what they're not doing. But, 3-4 weeks ago, we could have been saying the same thing about Austin Riley and Matt Olson, and we were saying the same thing about Austin Riley and Matt Olson. Baseball is a game of ups and downs. It's a game of highs and lows. Some of these guys are in highs, and some of them are in lows. I'm not one to jump on them and say, hey, what the heck, right? That's not me. We certainly have room to improve. Brian Snitker, spoke after the series against the Yankees today, and I thought what he said kind of hit the nose on the head, right? Or hit the nail on the head, let me rephrase that. He said, look, I think we're playing more along the lines of our abilities and showing what we actually are capable of, but I don't think we're operating on all cylinders. That's how I feel. It's certainly more along the lines of what we're familiar with, no doubt about that, because when you looked at the first month and a half of the season, I was sitting here going, I don't know. Like, at any given day, it's got to turn around, but so far, it just has not been able to do that. Now we find ourselves in a spot where it's like, okay, I see the potential. I see what it's supposed to be. I see how this lineup was supposed to operate. We are down Ronald Acuña. We are down Michael Harris. And really, we haven't really been at full strength for very much of this year, right? Even when we had those guys, Sean Murphy had been hurt. Ozzie Albies, I believe, had been in and out. So we've had a lot of time where this Braves lineup has not been at full strength. And that doesn't help you at all. And I think now we're starting to see the guys that we counted on are starting to be who we expect them to be. And unfortunately, Ronald Acuña got hurt before he could really get to that point. But we are seeing Austin Riley perform. We are seeing Matt Olson perform. And on the days that they don't have the big hit, Jared Kelenic just may, right? Orlando Arcia just may. And so on and so on. This lineup is starting to become what the vision was. And at the beginning of the season, it was clear to me what the vision was before injuries took hold. Not just in the lineup, but also in the starting rotation. You look at the starting rotation, especially now, if you added Spencer Strider to this list and Ronaldo Lopez was your fifth guy, we'd be doing extremely well in terms of starting pitching. The vision was clear. You hate to see where it is now. You hate to see that it didn't live up to the expectation, and through no one's fault, just the luck of the draw sometimes. Injuries do happen. Now, moving forward from that, you have to adjust. That's where the trade deadline comes in. We're going to talk about that more later on in the show. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you being here after a series win for the Braves. The Braves did take the series 2-1. They outscored the Yankees 14-10. They remain those 7 games back, so there's still a lot of room there to be caught up within the division. The Phillies have not skipped a beat, and of course we're going to monitor that and see what they do. The next series that the Braves will have is a 3-game set against the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis, and I know what you're thinking, okay, whatever, it's the Cardinals. But this is not 2023 St. Louis Cardinals. This is 2024. They are in second place. They have won 7 out of their last 10. They're a very good team, and the Braves are going to have to be as good as they were in this series, maybe better, if they're going to win that series as well. If they do win that series, that will be their 4th consecutive series victory, and hopefully that will be the case. I will say this before we go to break. The Braves right now seem to me to be the hottest they've been all year. I don't believe it's as good as they're going to get. I think it's going to get better, but I'm more comfortable now than I have been at any other point this year outside of opening day, opening week, maybe the first 2 weeks, because the early part of this year has been up and down for sure. But where we are right now, I feel much better about how we look, the team dynamic, the lineup itself, the starting rotation itself, and the bullpen. I still think some additions need to be made come July 30th at the trade deadline, but as for right now, I feel comfortable in knowing that what we have can be added to and can be successful come the postseason. When we get back, we're going to talk about the future beyond this year for one Braves pitcher, and I'm sure you all have an idea who that is. We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We're going to get to your comments as well. Remember, Super Chats do get priority. They do get first in line. We got 3 segments. We're about to finish the first one. When we get back, we'll talk about the future for one Braves pitcher, Max Fried. After that, we're going to talk about the trade ideas that you guys have. And so make sure to get those comments in, make sure to get them there, and I'm looking forward to talking about it. But like I said, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Get your comments in. We're going to answer as many as we can. And before we go to break, please do us a favor if you have not already. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on right here at On Deck.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Clint Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Clint Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile. Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody, and again, thank you for tuning in tonight. We really do appreciate it. If you would, please do make sure to like the video, and of course, comment with your ideas for a trade. I've already seen a super chat in there. That's going to be the next segment. Appreciate you there, Jonathan. And of course, when we get to the next segment, we're going to answer Jonathan's questions, so if you have an idea, put it in. We want to answer yours as well. And again, thank you for tuning in tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. Let's get into this real quick, though. The Atlanta Braves starting pitching staff so far this year has been really good, even with the injury to Spencer Strider. Chris Sale has been as advertised and everything we could have hoped he'd be. Ronaldo Lopez has been a real diamond in the rough. Charlie Morton's had his ups and downs, but he's been Charlie Morton that we expect. And as we move forward, you hope that that trend continues beyond this year. Of course, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the trade deadline. I still believe that the Braves are going to go get a starting pitcher of some caliber because not only for this year, they need one, but also for next season. And the reason is, I've said this many times before, you could possibly be losing not only Charlie Morton to a potential retirement, but also Max Fried to potential free agency. And that time is coming. So that leads into this question. And it's a question that a lot of you guys have asked in one way or another. How important is it to re-sign Max Fried? Right? I can show you Max Fried's stats. I can tell you that going into today, he had a 3.11 ERA that probably got better by the end of today. He has a 6-3, probably now 7-3 win-loss record. I can tell you all that. I can tell you the intangibles. I can tell you what his spin rate is. I can tell you all of that. None of that matters. Put the stats aside. Obviously, they matter when you're talking about negotiating for arbitration, but really when it comes to free agency, what matters is who is he on the mound. We've seen it over the past few years. We know what Max Fried has to offer, and he's been an absolute staple in Atlanta. He became probably an Atlanta legend back in 2021 after Game 6, right? We can all talk about that, but really who he is day in, day out, pending injury, he's a guy that's going to give you a chance to win every time, just about, right? And we know who he is. We know what he gives us. Entering this offseason, again, with both Fried and Morton possibly being gone, how important is it that we bring him back? And it's been a topic that we've talked about before, but this is a question that, again, I've been asked multiple times. I addressed this last Sunday minimally because I wanted to focus on it this week. Max Fried, without a doubt, is the front man of the rotation. You can argue Spencer Strider has more stuff. You can argue that, he may be the better talent right now, but Max Fried has been the guy that we count on in heated moments, and when we need him most, that is the guy that the Braves count on. He is not the most veteran guy in the rotation. Chris Sale and Charlie Morton both have him beat there, but he is certainly the guy that the Braves will hang their hat on. Now, again, I ask, how important is it that we bring him back in 2025? Well, that's really not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to the Atlanta Braves front office. I said last Sunday that I do not think that Max Fried will be back in Atlanta come 2025. And I have my reasons. Why is it that I don't think he'll return? Well, probably for a lot of the same reasons that you either think that or you question that. And there's plenty of reasons. I have three. Number one, he has yet to sign an extension. And when you look at all of who the Braves have that came internally and some externally that have signed an extension, he is the one guy who has not done that. That is currently on the roster that you would expect to have done that if he was going to. And, think about it. Ronald Acuña, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, who came from outside, Sean Murphy, who came from outside. We can look at that, Austin Riley. All these guys have signed even Spencer Strider, if you want to tune into a pitcher, all these guys have signed extensions of some kind, whether it be a long extension, whether it be a team-friendly extension, and all of these are. That's the difference here. Max Fried has held out, and that's the reason that I tend to believe it's not going to happen. That's the biggest. But also, my second reason is I've looked at the free agencies in the past that didn't sign an extension, i.e. Freddie Freeman or Dansby Swanson or anyone like that. Very few got to this point and all of a sudden came back or signed an extension or whatever the case may be. And look, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying if we've waited this long, if you're Max Fried, why would you sign a team-friendly extension if the suitors are this close to being able to call you and offer you a deal? My third reason is exactly that. He may not be in the Braves' price range come 2025. Not to say that they can't pay it, but I'm saying they may not pay it. Here's what I'm saying. The top 10 starting payroll, right, bottoms out at $130 million. All right, that was to Max Scherzer. So I want to take a look at the top 10 starting pitcher payrolls because I'm going to prove a point here. You start out with Shohei Ohtani, whether you view him as a starting pitcher or not. He is technically a starting pitcher. You have Shohei Ohtani. You have Yamamoto in second at $325 million. You have Garrett Cole, $324 million. Strasburg, $245 million. Jacob deGrom, $185. Aaron Nola, $172. Patrick Corbin, $140. Tyler Glasnow, $136. Jose Barrios, $131. Max Scherzer, $130. What did you notice about some of the names in that list? You baseball fans out there, think about it. What did you notice? Some of you probably already know where I'm going with this. I hope you do. 7 out of those 10 that I just listed have missed substantial time or are currently missing substantial time because they are out with injuries, okay? And whether that be because the ball has changed, whether that be because you can't use sticky stuff, whether that be just because some team signed a stupid deal, whatever the case may be, 7 out of the 10 are missing substantial time. One of them is retired in Steven Strasburg. So what I'm telling you is this. When it comes to starting pitching, paying high is not always the way to go. And it's not a good model, right? If you look at any kind of sustainable model in baseball, starting pitching right now, paying high, you're not necessarily going to get it you're not going to get what you pay for necessarily. Some are currently working out. Aaron Nola seems to be doing very well. Yamamoto seems to be doing well. Jose Barrios has had his ups and downs. Those are the only 3 that are currently healthy right now. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's deep dive this real quick. Shohei Ohtani, not pitching in 2024. He is playing, but he's not pitching. Garrett Cole is out currently. Steven Strasburg, we've already mentioned that. He is retired, and he's currently on that $245 million contract. Jacob deGrom, currently injured. Patrick Corbin, he's playing, but not to the level that he's getting paid. Tyler Glasnow missed all of 2022. Jose Barrios, again, his ups and downs. Max Scherzer is currently out as well. So my point is this. This is where I'm going with this to get it back to Max Fried. Do the Braves view that as a priority? Probably. It's certainly going to be a topic of conversation, as it should be, come the offseason, if there hasn't been an extension signed. But when I look at it, and when I analyze it, I don't know that they're going to view that like we do, right? We view it as, hey, man, this is the guy. This is our guy. This is the guy who's been with this team, who's been a part of this rebuild. He was one of our guys that we got while he was still in the minors. He's been with us his entire major league career. We got to get him, right? And that's the lens we're looking at it with, right? And that is the argument for bringing back Fried, right? This is the case, right? Do you want him to be a lifetime Brave? I'm sure many of us do. He's a postseason legend for the Braves already, right? And out of all of the arms we've raised over the years, I throw it back to Fulton Nevich, Sean Newcomb, Tookie Toussaint, Michael Soroka, etc. Name your pick. He is the one guy out of all of them that has hung around and is still here pitching at a high level. The only one. But it only happens. Max Fried only returns if it is a team-friendly deal. That is the reason I don't think it's going to happen. Because if that was going to happen, I think it already would have happened. There's nothing saying that it can't happen. I'm just telling you, logic-wise, I would be very surprised if Max Fried was to sign a team-friendly deal. Now, the Braves could all of a sudden decide, hey, look, we're gonna pay Max's money here. And look, if there's one guy that I think deserves it, if there's one guy that I think may be worth it, especially considering that you could potentially be losing both Charlie Morton and Max Fried, and you don't start next year with Spencer Strider, it very well may be worth it. But I really believe that under Alex Anthopoulos, under this current administration, it's got to be a team-friendly deal. I mean, you look at Spencer Strider. He's on a team-friendly deal. Any other starting pitcher right now is on a virtual team-friendly deal, right? Even Chris Sale is on a team-friendly deal, and he's an outsider. So my point is, you just need to go ahead and understand it may not happen. Max Fried may not return as an Atlanta Brave in 2025. I've already come to the conclusion that I don't think he will. And the reason I say I don't think he will, you have 10 teams right here that are willing to pay pitchers that are not up to his caliber, or not up to Max Fried's caliber. I'm looking at you, Patrick Corbin. They're not there. They don't have his resume, and they're making $140 million, $245 million. Some of them aren't even playing anymore. You have teams that are willing to spend that kind of money. If you're Max Fried and you have the choice between playing in Atlanta for, we'll call it $20 million a year, or going to San Diego and making $40 million a year, what are you doing, right? I mean, just being honest, that's where we find ourselves. And again, I really think it's mostly because he has not signed an extension yet. And there's nothing wrong with what he's done. He's handled himself very well. He's obviously given it 125% every day. And all he is required to do is to play at his top level while in a Braves uniform. What happens after that is completely up to Max Fried. And I think Chipper Jones said it perfectly a couple of years ago. If Max Fried wants to be a Brave, he will be a Brave. We'll see what happens. And again, no matter what happens come this offseason in 2025, Max Fried will always be an Atlanta Brave for what he did not only in 2021 in the World Series, but over his career in Atlanta. He has been phenomenal. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think Max Fried will be back in 2025? Are you already writing him off to go somewhere else in Major League Baseball? Let me know down in the comments, of course. And if you would, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. We really would appreciate it. When we get back, we're going through your comments, and we're starting with Jonathan Roberson for Super Chatting. We're going to start with him, and we're going to get through all of your trade ideas. So get your comments in, get your trade ideas in. I want to go through as many as I can tonight. And, of course, if you would, also, please do like the video. That's the best thing you can do to support the channel. And when we get back, we get to your comments.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile. Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HTs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We get into your comments right now, and we're going to start with Jonathan Roberson, who super chatted tonight. Really do appreciate that. Remember, super chats do get priority. They get you moved up in line. They get you first in line, and they also support the channel. We appreciate Jonathan for that. Mark Feinsand says the Braves are a suitor for Luis Rengifo to potentially platoon at shortstop or to be main shortstop. What are my thoughts? Well, when it comes to Luis Rengifo, he's, like you said below that, he's got a really good glove. His bat's okay. And I don't mind it per se. I don't know what the potential trade would be. In 2024, he does have a 306 batting average, 4 home runs. I believe that's slightly better than Orlando Arcia. He's got a 353 on base and a 770 OPS. I would venture to say that that's more than likely better than Orlando. He's only signed on a 1-year, $4.4 million deal, but he's not a free agent until 2026. So here's what I would say, right? I don't mind it. In terms of a platoon, let's see. He's a switch hitter, so I like that. But to be honest with you, I don't know how much he really gives you over Arcia. Because when I look at Arcia, a lot of folks are criticizing his bat right now, and I get it. He's going through a slump. But I think his defense has been really solid. And Luis Rengifo, what he does give you over Orlando Arcia in terms of the bat right now, which he does, and maybe even the glove, you're still paying him more. And I don't know how much he'd really give you, because at some point you got to interchange these guys. Somebody's got to play, somebody doesn't. And I don't know if that's exactly the way they want to go. He's a great depth piece if you wanted to do that route. If you wanted to make him your everyday shortstop and make Orlando depth, he's done it before. I'm not saying he can't. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I certainly don't hate it. I think ultimately what'll happen in that case is, if that were to happen, I think that would be more for like a straight up trade, right? Because for the Angels, and I believe he does still play for the Angels, right? Yeah, he still plays for the Angels. For the Angels, you get a guy in Orlando who's cheaper, so you're cutting a little bit of cost. The Braves get somebody who has better stats this year. You could say that. I don't know that I necessarily love it again, but I don't hate it. So, Jonathan, I hope that answered your question. I appreciate you super chatting. Of course, if you have a super chat, please get it in and we'll get you moved to the front of the line. There was one other trade idea that I got on the YouTube community page that I wanted to share. I forgot to get his name, though. I'll get that in a second. But it was Jake Fraley for Drake Baldwin. A lot of folks are throwing Drake Baldwin into the trade pile. And I get it, right? You look at our current catching situation, and Drake Baldwin may not even necessarily have anywhere to go when it comes to the future, right? Because think about how long Chadwick Tromp has been down in the minors, right? He hasn't been able to come up to the majors because, frankly, you have Travis d'Arnaud and you have Sean Murphy at the major league level, so that window or that ceiling is tough to break for Chadwick Tromp. Then you have a Drake Baldwin who's in the same category, who's basically waiting on either d'Arnaud to retire, move elsewhere, or whatever, because Sean Murphy signed long term. So I don't know how movable it is to be a catcher right now in the Brave system. So I definitely think Drake Baldwin could be a trade piece. The caveat to that is he going to be for Jake Fraley? And of course, this was Micah Thomas that sent me this. This is on the community page. Again, thank you, Micah. Jake Fraley right now, he's an outfielder, 278 average, 330 on base, 1 homer. Drake Baldwin this year in AAA has got a 244 average, 4 homers. I mean, similar to Luis Rengifo in this category for me, I definitely think you can move Drake Baldwin. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, because for me, I still think one of the top priorities is starting pitchers, and if it's not starting pitchers, it's legit bat, and I don't know that Jake Fraley necessarily gives you that. He's got a good average, but he's not exactly a power guy. I think you could use Drake Baldwin in a better trade package. Maybe you trade with the White Sox and you get Luis Robert. Maybe you add a couple names in there, you get Luis Robert and you get Eric Fetty, then you solve the problem of both starting pitcher and outfield bat, possibly. It's just an idea. But in terms of depth, Jake Fraley would be good. I don't know if that's necessarily the way I would go about it, but that's just me. I mean, it's just an opinion. And again, I think ultimately where we're at right now, I think the Braves need starting pitcher and they need a bat. Anything other than that is gravy, and it would be nice. but I don't necessarily think that it's going to be depth pieces, right? Because you have to have somebody that is better than either Duvall or better than Kelenic. I don't think you're removing Kelenic. I don't think Kelenic's the problem. I think Duvall works best in a platoon, and maybe you go back to platooning Kelenic and Duvall, possibly, depending on what kind of caliber of a player you get in, right? Like, if you get a Luis Robert, I think you're platooning Kelenic and Duvall, right? And Luis Robert's probably going to play right, and Duvall and Kelenic are going to be back playing left. If you get somebody like a Jake Fraley, you may be platooning him and Duvall, and I don't necessarily mind that. But I think right now we kind of need to set our sights higher, because I think there's more availability in the trade market than we're giving it credit for. I think that we're going to see some big players moved. I've seen folks post that the Braves are linked to like Jesus Luzardo. I don't know if I love that move, but I've seen that. I've seen the idea of moving a lot of different players around. I even saw one the other day about Charlie Blackmon. I don't know if I like that, but it's an outfielder, and that's really what I think we need right now. I think Kelenic's been good. I don't know how long it's going to last. I hope it lasts till October. Duvall's had his struggles, but so has Arcia. And I don't know how you necessarily solve that problem other than you get an outfield bat to help fill in the power, right? You don't need a DH because you don't want Ozuna playing the field, and you certainly don't want him out of the lineup. So there's a lot of different ways this can go, and I don't hate the idea of Jake Fraley. And I do think that Drake Baldwin could be moved. I think when it comes to the prospects right now, I think just about everybody could be up for grabs. And I'm sure the Braves have a few circled. Okay, we're not letting that guy go unless we get somebody that justifies it, right? But I think everybody could be brought up and had a conversation about. But we'll see where it goes. In terms of Drake Baldwin, I think he's very movable because of the security you have at the catching core, right? You can never have enough depth, but I do think you have enough security there with d'Arnaud and with Murphy at the major league level and with Chadwick Tromp at the minor leagues level that I don't know that a Drake Baldwin's ever really going to get a shot of making it to the majors within the Braves system, at least not anytime soon. So I like the Drake Baldwin. I don't mind the Jake Fraley. I don't think it's a bad idea. It may happen, but I don't know that that's necessarily the route the Braves will take. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. We're getting into your comments right now. We're going to answer as many of these as we can. A lot of you guys watching that haven't liked the video, we see you. Press the like button for us. It does help us out. And, of course, if you would, please do subscribe as well if you have not already. We're going to be here as long as we can be. But, again, Super Chats do get you moved front in the line. We want to answer as many as we can, but doesn't always happen. So, remember, Super Chats do help the channel. They do support us, and they get you in the front of the line. Let's go ahead and go to Scooter Puff. Says, series went pretty much how I called it. I knew we wouldn't be able to keep the Yankees down for 3 straight, and Morton was the one that was going to drop. And I don't necessarily even mind that, right? Like, when you look at these two teams, they're very comparable. They're both very good. The Yankees have been great all year. They got whooped up on before we faced them, so I knew that, okay, well, they're beatable, right? But that doesn't always necessarily translate to guaranteed victories. So you also go there and you're like, okay, well, we got 3 of our dogs on the mound, right? You got Chris Sale, then you got Morton, and then you got Fried. I feel really good about Morton, and I feel really good about Max Fried. Charlie Morton's been the one that's up and down. Fortunately, he was down against the Yankees, and they took advantage, and they got 5 runs on him. But all in all, I thought the series was good. It was nice to see the offense, go nuts back there in Game 1. It was nice to see, Max Fried handle business on the mound in Game 3. So all in all, I liked the series. I thought it went very well, and like you said, it's pretty much how I called it too. For the most part, I mean, obviously, there's always going to be a little difference. I thought Morton would pitch better, but it doesn't always happen that way. Chris Field says, what's up, Tyler? I know we're playing a, quote, what have you done for me lately game, but in your opinion, are we officially back, or do you need to see more? I believe we're on the way up myself. This is a great question. I want to say I kind of answered this early on in the show, but I'll give you a better answer now. I think what Snit said today in postgame was perfect. I think we're, again, playing up to our ability now. We're playing as if we belong again, which is nice to see. I don't necessarily think we're at our best. I think we're not hitting on all cylinders, as Brian Snicker put it. But I definitely think we're better than we were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, beginning of the season. I think we're playing at a much higher. We're playing at a better level right now, for sure, and I hope that continues. I hope we continue to see positive measures. Olson and Riley playing the way they are really gives me some comfort, right? That tells me, okay, things are getting back in order. I wish Acuña was still here. I wish Harris was still here, but we can't dwell on that. Those two guys working together and giving offensive numbers again, that gives me a lot of confidence moving forward. But I need to see, the rest of the team continue that. And look, Kelenic is doing well. The only two really weak spots that I see right now are Duvall and Arcia. And I don't know that that's necessarily that terrible of a thing, right? Ramon Laureano has done well for the most part. He's definitely been a part of the offense. He scored a run today. But that to me is still, is that a permanent spot? Is that a permanent call up in Ramon Laureano? Is it a permanent guy getting called up in JP Martinez, right? Like those kind of things. I feel like we definitely need some more structure, right? But it's going to be a revolving door until the trade deadline happens and until we get some consistency. It's just going to be a revolving door. Guys, remember, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Micah Thomas at it once again. He says, hey, Tyler, I love the streams. How does a trade for Jake Raleigh, I'm going to go with Jake Fraley here, sound for Drake Baldwin? He's somebody to platoon Adam Duvall with. Got your comment. Glad we got you answered, buddy. Thank you for the comment. Really do appreciate it. Scooter Puff says the difference between this team now and this team a couple of weeks ago is that we would have left those two guys in scoring position stranded, but instead we found a way to drive them in. Yeah, and then you would have had a 1-1 game going to, late innings, and that's never a fun thing. Ozzy Albies has been a lot more controlled at the plate. He got an outside pitch that got a little bit of the plate. Over the second baseman today, I thought that was a good sign. I think he's on the verge of kind of breaking out. And you can always tell when somebody's on the verge of breaking out. Austin Riley and Matt Olson, I saw it for like 2 weeks, and it went on too long, but I saw it for a long time where it's like they would hit it right at somebody or they'd square one up and it went foul or just whatever. It was like their timing was just that much off. And all of a sudden, here we are, and Olson's hit. I think he got his 12th homer the other day. Riley's back to doing what Riley does, and that's what I want to see, right? Because as we move forward, those two guys are our guys, right? Acuña's gone. Michael Harris is out. Austin Riley and Matt Olson, two of the highest paid guys on the team, but also two of the staples of the offense. They're our guys, of course, alongside Marcell Ozuna. They're the guys that are going to have to be the power guys on this team, and I think they're finally doing that, and they're finally being more along the lines of what we expect them to be. Matthew says, Tyler, what is your prediction on which players will be starting in the outfield come August? Also, which pitchers will be in the starting rotation come August? I think all the guys that are in the starting rotation right now that you would think about, your Freeds, your Morton, your Sale, who am I missing? Oh, and Ronaldo Lopez. All those guys are in the rotation come August, based on what we see right now. The fifth one, I'm not confident in really saying anybody because, the trade deadline may happen. I mean, I could give you a prediction there, but I don't have one. I'm more at this point kind of seeing, okay, we have a ton of different ways this can go, and I'm just excited to kind of see it happen. But in terms of the outfield, I think you may not have three. You may have more than three, right? That's exactly what happened in 21 when Acuña went out. You had Duvall, but you also had Rosario, you had Soler. You had a lot of guys out there that were playing. So for me, and the way I see it at the moment is you got Kelenic out there in the left. I think he'll be playing. I think Duvall may be platooning. Michael Harris will be back around that time, so he'll be playing. So to me, Kelenic and Harris are gimmies. And then it really just depends on if we make a move at the deadline in terms of outfield and really the starting rotation. It just depends on what they do at the deadline, which, they could do a lot of different things. So it's tough to say. I wish I could give you a better answer, but if you're completely just going off of what we have right now, Kelenic's in, Duvall's in, and Ramon Laureano's in, right? But, I mean, Harris would obviously be back in August. But I still think things are going to happen at the deadline. I think we're going to have multiple moves for multiple guys. I think a lot's going to happen at the deadline. So for me to pick one in August would be a tall task. Guys, we're going to take a quick break real quick. When we get back, we're going to continue answering all your questions. So get them in.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile.
Thank you for staying with us tonight. Really do appreciate it. We're going to jump right back into the chat. Let's go to the wild one. He says, Charlie Morton might be retiring, but Uncle Jesse is said to be retiring after this season. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine so, right? And what a career that guy has had. He has made the most of his talents. Jesse has been one of the guys who, he's been there through the best of times. He's been there through the worst of times, too. And the thing about Jesse, a lot of folks can talk about, he's in a lot of low leverage innings, and that's why his ERA is so good. That's fine and dandy, but somebody's got to go out there and pitch it. And I would much rather have Jesse than a lot of other guys. He's a veteran. He takes it seriously. He takes younger pitchers under his wing, which I think is a really nice touch. And that's what you want in a good veteran, and that's what he is. And look, he knows his role, and he plays it well. So, Uncle Jesse, if this is it, you've had a great career, most traded baseball player in history. That just tells you that somebody's going to want him, right? He is a valuable asset that is very underrated on any other team except the Atlanta Braves. Guys, remember to get the likes up. Remember to like the video. That does help us. It helps us get the stream out there to a wider audience. And credit to you guys, because this is the biggest audience I think we've had all season. It's been a while since we've gotten up this high, so I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Let's go ahead and scroll down, go to Scooter Puff. If we are looking for a bat for the outfield, we may have an old friend playing for the Angels that is currently raking. He's talking about Kevin Pillar. I don't hate the move. We've talked about it a couple of times here on the channel. I don't hate the move for Kevin Pillar. I don't think it's a bad move. I think Kevin Pillar's had a great season so far, and I think the Angels are stinking it up. So Kevin Pillar's definitely going to be traded come the deadline if he's still playing like this for sure. But I don't know that he necessarily fits what the Braves are doing. And he may. I'm telling you from an outsider point of view, I don't know if he's better than Kelenic, and I don't know if he's better than Duvall. He's playing very well right now. I don't know if he's going to be that way at the end of the year. He may be. And he may be campaigning, hey, can you trade me to the Braves, please? That may be what he's doing. He may be trying to get his value up so that he can be traded and get the Angels something back that, they're going to want. Look, if Kevin Pillar happens, I'll be satisfied. I think it's a good move. I think he's having one of the best stretches of his career this season. So, we'll see. Jake Hobby says, maybe we get Kenley back from Boston for Winans. He's talking about Alan Winans. Of course, he's also talking about Kenley Jansen. Let's take a look at what Boston's up to these days. Give me a second. So Boston is, I don't know that they're far enough out of the division they're too far out of the division. They're still competing for a wild card. It could happen, but I don't know if it's necessarily a given at the moment. They're out of contention. They would not be in the postseason if it ended right now, but I don't know if they're necessarily in the trade market conversation just yet. Give it a couple weeks. Of course, July 30th is really going to tell us what we're working with, but I don't know if they're completely out of it at the moment. The Wild One says, I keep hearing that Max Fried wants to head back west since he lives out there. That's the other thing, right? That's kind of another reason that I feel the way I do. I haven't heard that he wants to go out that way. He hasn't said anything, and he won't say anything. I guarantee, even if he was asked point blank, are you going to resign? He's not going to say anything. He wants to keep that quiet, and I respect that. But, he's from around San Diego. Like, if I'm going to tell you right now, if I was playing in San Diego and I had the chance to play for the Braves for more money, I'd probably take that. So, look, it's really up to him. I don't think anybody would be upset about it. But Fried has shown his case to get the right kind of contract, and so far that hasn't happened under the Atlanta A, and it very well may happen for him under the San Diego or the Dodgers logos. So whatever happens, I think we'll be happy for Fried. It'll stink. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I think this kind of free agency compared to the likes of like a Freddie Freeman, I think we all kind of understand it a little more because we saw Freddie come out and preach, I want to stay here. I want to be here. This is where I belong, and then it didn't happen. And of course that was heartbreaking for a lot of Braves fans, including, I'm sure, all, 50 of you guys watching. So I think the way this goes, you haven't seen Max Fried come out there. He's kept quiet. He has not been out there in the public saying, I need to be back. I want to be back. This is where I belong. You haven't seen any of that, which is just another reason as to why I think he's fully okay with walking away. He's accomplished what he came to accomplish in Atlanta, and I think he's still doing that, but he's won a World Series here, right? I'm sure he'd love to win a Cy Young, but that may happen this year. It could happen, come next year if he's in a different jersey or still within Atlanta. I think for us, I think we all fully expect the worst, right? And that's okay. I think we fully expect him to go west. And whether it's the Dodgers or whether it's San Diego, I hope it's San Diego for all intents and purposes. But either way, both of those teams are going to fork out a lot of cash. It's where he's from. I don't necessarily mind it, and I wouldn't be surprised by it either. Scooter Puff says, it still boggles my mind that the Dodgers are going to pay all caps, $1 billion for Shohei and Yamamoto. And really, Shohei is the animal that he is, but Yamamoto's not having like a super standout year. I mean, he's got a good ERA, he has a decent record, but he's not having like a superstar caliber year. And here's the thing about the $1 billion, right? And I kind of thought about this the other day. If you're Dodgers ownership, why wouldn't you sign them to that $1 billion contract? Because it's all deferred, right? So think about this. If you're the Dodger ownership, you sell the Dodgers in, let's say, 5 years, 6 years, whenever you're done with playing with them, and all of a sudden Shohei's money is all deferred, and whoever buys the Dodgers they're going to get the Dodgers, but then they got to pay Shohei. So you're not even technically paying that money. To me, that should be illegal, but, what do I know? The Wild One says, Mad Max is elite and is looking for a big payday, and I don't blame him. But I don't see AA shelling out big money. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, historically speaking, we haven't seen that. The biggest contract right now under the Braves, I believe, is Austin Riley, and he's making right at $20 million a year for 10 years. So it's a $200 million deal, but you get a third baseman with good defense and a really good bat for $20 million a year. It's a team-friendly deal, but that's as high as we've gotten. Spencer Strider's got a decent deal, but all in all, we're not going to give the $40 million a year for one starting pitcher. It just doesn't make sense. And really, it's not a sustainable model. If they give Fried that money, they're going to have to give Strider that money when his contract rolls around. They're going to have to give, Acuña a big payday. They're going to have to give Ozzy Albies a big payday because they've set the standard, right? All these other guys have signed these team-friendly deals. Granted, they were a lot younger than what Fried is right now. But if you're Max Fried, why would you sit here and take $20 million less? I'm not saying the Braves are wrong. I'm saying this is just two differences of opinion, right? For the Braves, it's like, look, Max Fried's great. He's been great for our franchise. He's been great for all of what we've accomplished. But why would we pay him that money if I can go pay someone else $20 million less and get virtually the same result, right? Because that's what ownership's looking at. They're looking at their bottom line. And for me, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But for Max Fried, it's like, look, I'm going to go where my value is at its highest. And I'm not saying this is what's happening. They may be talking right now and signing a deal tomorrow. I don't know. I'm just telling you what we've seen over the past few years. That's what it looks like to me. And I don't even know that it's AA, because I think if it's up to AA, he'd love to keep a guy like Max Fried. But it's up to whatever budget he's given. And if his budget says, okay, you can't go over the luxury tax, well, what do? So you got to re-sign Max Fried or you don't. It's one or the other. And I don't know that it's necessarily in the Braves' best interest in terms of their finances, not on field. I think we'd all love to see Max Fried in 2025 in an Atlanta Braves uniform, but it may be in their best interest to move past it and either commit to what they have in the minors or, and I've tossed this idea out there, trade for a guy who's got not only this year on his contract, but also next. Eric Fetty is an example. Sonny Gray is an example. I think he's got another 2 years. Jesus Luzardo has another couple of years of control. There's a lot of different ways the Braves could go about doing this. But when it comes to Max Fried, I just don't know that they don't view him like fans do, right? Me and you, we're fans. They don't view him that way. They view him as, okay, he's going to give us a 3 ERA. He's going to give us 160 innings pitched with, average of 3 runs given up every 9. Okay, who else does that, right? If you ever see Moneyball, you know I'm right. So I don't know that they necessarily view it. I think Jake Hobby's right. I think the Wild One's right. I think he's headed west. We'll see. Brandon Okowski wrote this comment in all caps, so bear with me. I hope the Yankees DFA LeMahieu and it is effective immediately, and this would mean he is all done in the Bronx. This time it would be good if that happens. All right, Brandon, I don't know if you're a Braves fan or if you're a Yankees fan. I don't know if you want LeMahieu gone or if you want the Braves to get LeMahieu, but I'm going to take it and move on. The Wild One says, I would love it if AA got Mason Miller from the A's, but the A's are asking for the moon and the sky for him. And I would too if I was Oakland. He's been their one shining light, really, in terms of the pitching staff. They got to get whatever they can get most for him, right? I mean, they got to get they got to rebuild. That's the A's way, right? That's I just brought it up. That's Moneyball. So it doesn't surprise me. I don't even mind it. If I'm the A's, I want as much as I can from him too. And same with Brent Rooker, same with whatever. I was surprised that they got rid of Olson and Murphy for what they did back in the day. Because, it didn't feel like, we lost some substantial prospects, but it didn't feel like we lost as much as we should, right? I was surprised they did that. I guess that's just the mystery of AA. But I don't know if they're going to be that way this year. Brent Rooker and Mason Miller are either going to be here next year for the A's, or they're going to be, they're going to be looking elsewhere and maybe trying to do something, with another team or whatever. I think they're going to get as much as they can for what they have. It may be that they trade with the Dodgers. The Dodgers always have good prospects. The Padres, I think, have a good farm system right now. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. It'll be interesting. Matthew asked, Tyler, I have a very Tyler question for you. All right. Is Tyler Matzek's career as an Atlanta Brave all but over? I will always like him for what he did in 2021, but at this point, isn't he just a waste of payroll? No, and I'll tell you why. If nothing else, he got paid as a thank you, because it's my opinion, and I don't know if Tyler Matzek would agree with me or not, it's my opinion that he threw his arm out in that inning against the Dodgers. I don't think he's ever quite been the same. I think he threw it as hard as he physically could, and it resulted in us winning the NLCS and going on to the World Series and ultimately winning the World Series. So if nothing else, I'll pay him $2.5 million a year till the day he dies if I'm AA just for that. And I'll give him every chance possible to make a comeback. So no, I don't think he's a waste of payroll. I think he could also potentially turn it around. And it may be that at the end of the year, the Braves say, okay, Tyler, we've given you a couple of years. We've tried to see where this is going to go. You've had a great run. You got a World Series ring. We appreciate you. We want you to be a Braves legend forever, but this isn't working out. It may be that way. I don't know. And it also may be, Tyler, we're going to give you every chance we can. And either way, I'm okay with it. But no, I don't think he's a waste of payroll. I think that's a little out there. And really, how much on the Braves payroll is a waste of payroll outside of, what's his name? I can't believe I just lost his name. I blanked. The guy in AAA that got in trouble gambling. David Fletcher. That's it. Besides him, who's a waste of payroll? The Braves do a really good job of not wasting payroll. I don't think Tyler Matzek's a waste of payroll. Chess Burger says the Braves have no chance in the postseason against teams like the Phillies, Dodgers, Yankees. Just chill and give it a shot next year after injuries heal up. Now, Chess. your name would tell you that you've played chess before. You got to play chess with me for a second, because if it wasn't for 2021, I may agree with you. But I have seen this Braves team do things that should not be possible, should not have been able to happen. And all of a sudden in 2021, down Ronald Acuña, down a lot. And with far less, they won the World Series. So I'm not one to say that you're wrong, but I'm going to say you're wrong on this one, pal. Let's see. Scooter Puff. Okay, you're going after chess. I'm going to leave you to it. Miguel Freaka, hey Tyler, the Braves need more production from Murphy, Riley, and Olson. Those dudes make a lot of money. Kelenic have made me eat my words. Riley and Olson are turning a corner. Murphy went 4 for 4 last week. I think they are turning around. I definitely think that time will tell for sure, but I think Riley and Olson have hit their stride. And Murphy, again, I think he's had a better past 2 weeks than the 2 weeks before. Guys, please do remember to like the video. It really does help the channel out. We want to stay here a few more minutes and try to get all these questions answered. But please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. If you like the Atlanta Braves, this is the channel for you if you haven't figured that out already. We'd really love you to be a part of the On Deck community. And, of course, to do that, all you got to do is subscribe. MP31 says, bring up Nacho from AAA and give him a chance. Nacho Lopez, shortstop down there in AAA. He's been very good this year. I don't know if he's good enough to say, okay, we're going to give him a chance over Orlando Arcia. I was happy to see Forrest Wall get a chance. I thought he was the one that really deserved the opportunity, especially with all the outfield injuries, before we ever start flirting with the trade deadline. Nacho may be a trade piece because you have Orlando so cheap that I don't know that it makes sense to bring up anybody else. I think Nacho very well may be a trade piece. I think, and maybe you showcase that. I don't know. But for me, I think Orlando Arcia is going to hit his stride sooner rather than later. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Miguel says, the thing is, Alex Anthopoulos has wasted a lot of money in Morton. That was the reason he couldn't sign Freeman 3 years ago. Now, let's hold that thought for a second. Are we talking about the same Charlie Morton that struck out Jose Altuve on a broken leg in the World Series? Or is that who we're talking about right now? I don't think that's a waste. I'm not going with that. I'm not going to stand for that. Charlie Morton has been very good over the past few years. I'm not saying he's been our frontline starter, but middle of the rotation guy, sometimes back into the rotation guy, you cannot beat it. And for me, and where I see us going in the next couple of years, Charlie Morton has been a good transitional piece, if nothing else, in getting us into the next era, right? Think about what we'd be right now if we didn't have Morton, if we didn't have that guy. I don't think we would be. Thank you, Nacho Alvarez. I got it. What did I say? Nacho Lopez? Where am I at? No, I don't think that Morton is a waste at all. I don't think $20 million is too high. I think he's earned his money. And, to be honest with you, if he's willing to come back next year and he has a decent rest of the season, I'm not opposed to giving him another chance. But also it's up to AA, not me. Scooter Puff says the wheels came off of pretty much everybody we send to Oakland in those trades for Olson and Murphy. You're absolutely right. That's why it feels like we didn't lose a lot there. Think about it. Not only Shea Langoliers, who actually is not doing that bad. Christian Pache, nowhere to be found for the most part. Kyle Muller hasn't pitched well since leaving us. So I think that's more of a Oakland problem than it is of the prospects that we sent over there. I think they just struggled to raise their own in a lot of ways. Scooter Puff says, here's a not-so-fun fact. 6 of the 9 players that we had on opening day this year have missed time with injury. We have had more than our share of injuries already this year. Completely agree. And hopefully that's coming to an end. Chessburger says it perfectly. He says, look, you could do a lot worse than Morton. No issues with him at all. I don't think Morton's an issue. Right? He clutches up in the postseason. During the regular season, I don't care if you have 1 or 2 starts that are like, I don't care about that. I care if you clutch up when it matters. Morton's able to do that. He's able to lock in when needed. And look, he's a dog. I mean, again, if you need any convincing, just go watch the 2021 postseason again. I mean, that guy was great during that. And, you know, he puts it all out there. He gives you everything he has, every start he can. And he's a little older. Like, he's not who he used to be for sure, but he's not bad. Like, to say he's bad's, I think, a misstatement. But, you know, that's just my opinion. I think that's about every comment we got tonight. Guys, we're going to get out of here. But I really appreciate all of you tuning in tonight. Biggest crowd we've had all year. We want to make it bigger next week. So if you're watching this right now and you liked this conversation, be back next week, same time, same place. If you need to find us, of course, all you got to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date here at On Deck, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. Looking ahead, let's see what we're going to... All right, so Sunday next week, the Braves got a season finale against the Pirates. That starts at 11:35 in the morning, so everybody set your alarm for early in the morning. We will be here again, same time, same place, 8:15 at night on Sunday night. We will be here every week going forward. And, of course, if the Braves are playing, we will adjust the times. Just follow the channel for that. But the best way you can do it is by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, hitting the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. To those of you that super chatted, I'm looking at you, Jonathan Roberson. Thank you. Really do appreciate it. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting the channel. We cannot do this without you. And all I got to say is this. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for your continued support throughout this season. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next time right here at On Deck. Also, one last thank you to our sponsor, Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Have a great night, guys.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.